Today I'm going to be going through everything that I made in the month of May. May, as you have probably noticed, has been a little bit different on the channel, and I will be going into that in a different video, but I did want to show you all the things that I have been sewing because this is definitely my happy place, and sewing is definitely something that I derive joy from and something that I have been doing even though I have been very quiet on social media. It was another very busy month. Technically I got 10 things sewn, although one of them is the same thing twice, and that is the first thing that I got done this month, which is my semi-naked lady dress. This is not a dress, this is a bag. Semi-naked lady bag. This was a panel that the very lovely Nimue bought me for my birthday, and Nimue came to the bag making retreat back at the end of April, beginning of May, and if you would like a behind the scenes look at that, you can go over to Patreon. There is a full video about all the different things that we got up to during that week-long retreat. It was absolutely amazing. One of the events was a gala dinner birthday party for me because I scheduled it so that my birthday fell right in the middle of the weeks-long retreat, and I did that on purpose because it meant that I had people that are very dear to my heart to celebrate my birthday with, so it was absolutely wonderful. I had an absolutely amazing time, and I did say that nobody should buy me gifts and people just ignored that. So Nimue, as I say, bought me this panel, and she said that she saw it and couldn't not buy it for me, and I have to say it's leafy and has semi-naked ladies on it, so I get where you're coming from. It's like a kit to make a singular bag, but what I did was cut out the bag pieces and then use them as a pattern to cut out some lining fabric. This is a quilting cotton from Mum's Stash. It's actually the back of the very first quilt that Mum ever made me. I kind of just followed along with the instructions that were written on the sheet, and I have got two, because there is another one all the way over here. There you go. Yeah, I got two of these absolutely gorgeous shoppers. So technically this is meant to be the lining, but it's just too pretty to be the lining. So I used this for the back of each bag, and I used the semi-naked lady panel for the front. It does actually have writing on it. Down the bottom there it says Hawaii. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It's so up my alley with all the pretty flowers, the pretty leaves and the pretty ladies on it, and I'm just over the moon. So thank you so much, Nimue. It was really fun to sew, and it was a really easy afternoon project. So if you ever see those panels for shoppers, I highly recommend. I have taken a paper pattern so I can make this again if I want to. It is quite a large bag. I put no interfacing in this because I wanted it to be able to roll up, and they do, but they do take up quite a lot of room once they are rolled up. So I'm probably going to end up using it as like a beach bag. I think it's kind of the perfect size for that. And then if I ever go back to the Gold Hawk Road again for a fabric shopping extravaganza, I will roll them up and put them in my bag and just take other things out so that I have lots of fabric bags to put fabric bought in. So that was the first thing that I got made in May, and there were two of them, so technically two items. Next up, I finished my third dulcinea. This is the bag that I had made the outer and the lining, and I had left them like that so that I could take them to the retreat and show everybody what we were aiming for, and they could see the inside and the guts of the bag. I love how this has turned out. This is the leftover tapestry that I got from Ibiza when I went for my friend's wedding, and you will probably remember it from the very first book tote that I made. Dad currently is borrowing that one until I can make him his Father's Day present, which will be a book tote style bag but for his art supplies, because he goes to art club every Friday afternoon. I absolutely love how this bag has turned out. I used gold hardware with denim that I can't remember, I think this is denim I got from Minerva, and made a couple of pairs of trousers out of and a waistcoat. I had scraps left over for enough for a bag. So it's got Ibiza fabric, leftover denim fabric, and then on the inside I've got some batik that Mum gave me, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there's red pandas in there. I've got the interior slip pocket, which is an addition that I've added, and then the interior zipper pocket are lined in red pandas. There's a fat quarter I got from one of the shows where I was just like, oh, that's so cute, I need it. Kind of wish I had bought more because I would have liked the entirety of the lining of this to be red pandas, but the little pockets are brilliant. There is a sew along coming soon for the dulcinea, so I can show you all the tips and tricks that I used to get the bag bag finished, and then also the little tweaks that I've made to the pattern for my finishing preferences, because there were a few. I absolutely love this. I haven't used it yet because I've been waiting to show you guys, but it's going to be the bag that I use over the summer. I love how this has turned out. The one video I did get up in May was my May plans, and you saw that I wanted to work my way through all my green and yellow fabric, and you can see that I've achieved some of that, not all of it, but some of it. The first thing that I got done was this green and white chambray cotton fabric. I think I got it from Fabrics Galore at one of the shows ages ago. It's the same place that I got the gingham, which you'll be seeing in a second. I made a version of my Halston skirt, which there are a couple of videos for, which I'll link up here and then also in the description down below. I'm really pleased that I did, because one of the things about the Halston skirt is the crazy seaming. Having a striped fabric in my head was going to show off the crazy seaming better than the turquoisey denim, which is the one that I used for the second one. The first one I used was a corduroy, which obviously has a nap and the light hits it differently, and that one's the one that you can really see the details in it the most. Yeah, this is a very small stripe and you can't really see what's going on, which is a shame, but never mind. I also don't know that I actually like this by itself. I kind of wish I'd made a dress out of this fabric, but it was a fabric I was willing to experiment with because it is a fabric that is replaceable. A print like this, for example, once it's gone, and you can't, if you mess up with it, then that's it. But this one is experimental fabric to me, because whilst I may never get the exact same shade of sage green, I will be able to find a green striped chambray to make something in the future. And I had only got 3 meters of it, so it wasn't going to be able to do the dress that I wanted to do. So I thought, you know what, let's make that Halston skirt. You'll be able to see all the different stripes. You cannot see all the different stripes. I have hemmed it with bias binding. I've done flat felled seams. I have a full, as I say, video about how I sew this dress together, skirt together, and I do really like the shape of this one, but I think it's not necessarily a heavy enough weight fabric for a bottom that I would feel comfortable wearing, so I'm not 100% sure this is going to survive in my wardrobe. But been living down here waiting to show you guys, and so I haven't had the chance to wear it yet, so maybe it will. Maybe it'll be one of those easy breezy light cotton summer skirts that is great for me. Maybe it won't be, I don't know, but I'm glad that I tried it. I am going to get some thicker stripes in a heavier weight fabric to try this skirt again, because I do think a striped version of this skirt is going to look really good. Next up is my Floral 8177. This is the 4th one of these that I have made. It's the second one that is the strappy sundress version. Also a couple of scrunchies, as you can see here. This was fabric I got from Halston, which is a local fabric store in Newport on the Isle of Wight. I've been eyeing it up since summer last year, and I went back in recently and they had 6 and a little bit on the bulk. I was going to buy 5, but I ended up getting the entire 6 and a bit meters, and they charged me for 6. And I'm really glad that I did, because I have actually got this dress, a top which you'll be seeing in a second, and then another dress, the 5951, which at the moment I've only made the skirt of. The bodice needs, because it's got a little bit of bias in it, so it needs to drop, but the bodice needs to be put together. Plus, I think 17 meters of bias binding, and as I say, these 2 scrunchies. So that fabric went a really long way, and I mentioned this in April's lookbook. I am really coming around to buying myself a little bit extra of prints that I love, so that I can make multiple things with them, because as I said in that lookbook, I get fabric paralysis if I've only got a finite amount of a certain fabric and I'm just worried about making the wrong thing with it. In this case, I got 3 things out of it, and I think that's awesome, because this is definitely a very summery, possibly spring with the right layering pieces, but a very summery dress. The other one is going to be a cooler weather appropriate dress, and also very different. It's got full sleeves, a very 1930s looking dress, and then, as I say, the top, which you'll be seeing in a second as well. So I am over the moon with this one. It is a little on the tight side at the moment, because I have put some weight on for various reasons, one of which is I like chocolate. But yeah, at the moment this one is a smidge tight. But it's not something that I'm going to worry about, because I will be able to get into this over the summer, and I can wear it as is if I really want to, for like an evening out or something like that. And it also isn't super tight over my tummy, which means I will be able to wear it out for dinner, for example, have a big dinner and not be uncomfortable in it. Really happy with how this one has turned out. I love this dress. Love all the variations of it. I still owe you guys a modification sew along for this one, because this is the one that I made this white multi-layered skirt out of, and I turned it from a button-up front into a zip-up back. I filmed the entire thing of making that dress, and it's the worst fabric I could have picked for a sew along. So I am going to do another one at some point, because I love the dress so much, and I would like to show you guys the few tweaks that you need to make to a pattern to kind of adapt it to different things that you want the pattern to do for you, because as we know, patterns are expensive and they should work hard for you. Really pleased with this one, and I really like this orange with this yellow. I think it's a really nice combination, so very happy with this. This is the top that I got from that fabric. As I say, top two dresses. This is the Vogue 9006, which is a firm favourite of mine, and one of you lovely peeps recommended it to me as an alternative for the 6563, so thank you very much. I absolutely love it. I have tweaked this one. I have added the La Carla little cap sleeves on again, because I just love that tiny little bit of extra structure that it gives me on the shoulders. And I don't know if you can see, but I've actually ended up fully lining this one. I had to draft a lining for it, and it ended up with some kind of strange and teeny weeny little seams there, but it worked as I thought it was going to, and it has just meant that there is no visible top stitching on this top anywhere. The other ones, because this kind of sleeve doesn't go the whole way down to the bottom of the armhole, so you had to finish the other one with bias binding, which is fine. And it's this one here, the polka dot one. Words are hard. I really don't mind finishing with bias binding. You guys know how I feel about bias binding, but you also know how I feel about lining things. Yes, I've added a layer of complication to this. Yes, I need a slightly more fabric. I've gone for a Ivory viscose Marrakein that I get from the fabric room. I buy it in 20-meter bundles, usually when they have a sale on. So I go through a lot of this because I tend to line everything, because that's just my preference. But it was really fun working out if I could do it for this one, and I've got two more of these cut out in different fabrics that I've also now cut linings out for, and I'm really pleased with how it went together. And it didn't have to change the construction of this very much at all, which was really nice. So I absolutely love this. This neckline is a real fan favorite of mine. I think it's really flattering on me. This is a completely cut on the grain top, which it needs probably just over a meter and a bit of fabric, of the outer fabric at least. I can see myself going through my stash of very short fabrics that I have, and anything with any kind of drape on it, I'm going to be making one of these because I absolutely love it. Again, I really like this fabric with this cardigan, and then I also really like it with the green one. I haven't tried it with the blue, but with the denim skirt I'm wearing, that could look quite nice as well, because I do like those kind of orange and blue together as well. So yeah, very pleased with this one. Next up we have another dress. Is anyone surprised? No. This is the McCall's 7974. Is anyone surprised about that? No. I have a lot of this pattern. I think last count it was 7 and now it's 8, and there will be more. Also scrunchies. I did manage to get scrunchies done. I actually didn't cut a scrunchie out of the green and white striped chambray, but I do have scraps left over there, and I have plans for my scraps, which you will be seeing once all of the Anaconda and Thesis collection has been cut out. So yeah, 7974. I decided to cut the yoke pieces on the chevron or on the bias, and then also the midriff pieces on the bias, because I just wanted to make sure that everything lined up. I cut out the front panel pieces. I cut one out on a single layer, then used that as my pattern piece to cut the second one out, so that when it's done up, the boxes or the grid, the gingham, words are hard, the gingham lines up the whole way across, and I think that's worked out really well. I have fully lined this because I prefer to fully line this. As you guys know, there is a sew along for this pattern, which I will link up there in the description down below. So I cut the lining out first and then used the lining as the full pattern piece for the back as well. And then for the skirt, I decided to just do a gathered skirt rather than all of the panel pieces, because I had 3 meters of this fabric and I wanted to get as much of it as I possibly could into this dress. This is just a rectangle of fabric that I have cut out and sewn together and gathered up at the top and attached to the bodice, and I love how this looks. It is a really simple way of doing a very full skirt. I ended up with 3 full widths of the fabric in this skirt. Technically I could have used that 3rd panel to make a top, and kind of maybe wish I did, but again, it's going to be another thing going forward where I'm going to buy slightly more fabric than I think I need for a project, because I would like to get multiple things out of it. I'm really enjoying that kind of look and approach to sewing at the moment. So I am on the hunt for not necessarily exactly the same. Again, this is a gingham that I got from Fabric Galore at one of the shows a very long time ago. It was the knitting and stitching show when it was still at Olympia and still the knitting and stitching show. Yeah, I got 3 meters of it at the time. I would like to get a little bit more because I do think this collection would look really good with one of my tie front shirts in this fabric. Maybe this one, maybe the 9345, which I have a couple of coming up in a minute. I tried a bunch of different buttons for the front, and these brown coconut shell ones just work so well. They are a firm favorite of mine, to the point where I bought 180 of them a couple of years ago, and I have now completely used all of them. So I need to get myself some more coconut buttons, and I do want to get them in a couple of sizes as well, because I do like this really big one, but I like the slightly smaller size as well for other applications. Very happy with this dress. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It goes really well with the yellow cardigan. If you watch the Anaconda and Thesis collection video, you know that I think this is going to go with everything, and so far it's proving true. I've not worn it yet, but I will be wearing it over the summer. Again, this is a little on the tight side of me at the moment because I have put on a bit of weight, but that's not going to be sticking around for long, so I should be able to wear this comfortably over the next couple of months, and I am very much looking forward to that. This next project, it jingles. This was a complete experiment. I bought 3 meters of this double gauze with the gold dots on it from Higgs and Higgs a couple of years ago, fully intending this to be part of the Savannah collection. I have only worked with double gauze once before, and that was a very well behaved double gauze. It didn't have the really crinkly bobbly effect that this one does, so I think I got a little bit spoiled with that one. Somebody else is making exactly the same pattern from exactly the same fabric, just in a different colorway, and I was just like, oh, I've just done that, and these are the things that I found, so be careful of them. One of which, and one of you guys warned me about it in the fabric haul video, was that the gold dots on this fabric will come away if you iron it, and yes they do. I didn't doubt you, but I wanted to test it out and find out what level of heat these would take, and if I could use my pressing cloth, and how many layers of my pressing cloth needed to be used to make sure that it didn't end up taking all the dots off, because it doesn't take the dot off completely, it just takes the gold off and leaves a little white spot. Fun times. So thank you very much for that tip. That was very helpful to know. I ended up using a fairly hot iron on this, but I did use my silk organza pressing cloth, which is right here. So I used this, which now does have a couple of gold dots on it, because I ended up finding out that you need to use 2 layers of the silk organza, sometimes 3 or 4 that is, but yeah, you needed to use a couple of layers of silk organza between your iron and the fabric so that the gold dots didn't come off. Majority of this I pressed from the wrong side because that doesn't have gold dots on it, and it was fine, but there are some pieces that I had to press it because I made a shirt. Got a comment, as I say, just saying, oh, you don't want to make that pattern with this fabric, you want to make a loose, breezy, summery top with this fabric. I don't wear loose, breezy, summery tops. I like fitted things. Had I been more aware of that before I bought fabric, I probably wouldn't have splurged on this double gauze. It wasn't inexpensive. It was from Higgs and Higgs, and at the time I think it was £15 a meter. I was specifically looking for this colorway because I wanted it to go with the Savannah collection, and it does really well, but it also goes very nicely with Anaconda and Thesis as well. I really like how this has turned out. It's the Bruyere shirt. You've only seen it tucked in to the denim skirt because I have made it so that it is just about the same length, if not a tiny bit shorter, than my slips. My theory is that I want to be able to wear this with leggings and knee-high boots because it has the definition at the waist from the pattern. It's kind of like a mini dress. Basically, I've gone for that kind of a length. I added the same amount of length to the skirt portion as I did to the torso so that the waist sat in the right place on me, and I actually think the proportions of this are much better than the previous one that I'd made, which was out of the Mulberry Cobra Corsage viscose. I absolutely love that shirt, but it's not the right colours for me. My mum has it, she wears it, and it looks great on her. I'm really pleased that I persevered and was my stubborn self and made something that I wanted out of this fabric, even though it's not something that anybody would recommend. One thing I will say, I went for press studs, which is what's jiggling, and they don't do that when they're attached to each other. They only do that when, because hang on, there's one that I did it for the same, see, that doesn't rattle. So when it's done up, it doesn't rattle. I don't sound like an elf at Christmas. The button bands and the cuffs on the bruyere are basically 4 inches wide and then folded and folded in on themselves again. So obviously double gauze is 2 layers of very sheer cotton stitched together. As you can see, all the little divots, that's where it's stitched together so that it gives it this kind of appearance. So you've got a lot of layers of fabric. Even though it's a very light fabric, you've got a lot of layers of fabric in the button bands and in the cuffs as well. I decided that I wasn't even going to try and put buttonholes in this because it was not going to be a fun time at all. I didn't want to ruin something that I'd spent a lot of time making. So I went for gold press studs, which I actually really like how it's looked. And I think when I have made leggings, because that's on my make 9, and I've got about 5 things crossed off my make 9 so far. I do have technically a make 18, so maybe I need to not be as impressed with myself as I am at the moment. But yeah, I've got like a decent chunk of my make 9, my knit make 9, or essentials make 9 made. There was a point to that. What was the point to that tangent? And now my brain's just completely gone. What was the point for me saying that? Press studs, buttonholes. When I watch this back and edit it, it's going to be like, oh, that was the point. What was the point? What was I saying? Make 9. Leggings! Leggings are on my make 9, that's why. So when I get around to making my leggings, I think this over my leggings with either a little cardigan or possibly a waistcoat is gonna maybe look good. It's kind of my theory behind this. As I say, this is not a fabric that I would wear in its traditional or more normal thing that you are supposed to make with a double gauze. I don't wear those kinds of clothing. I thought it was worth an experiment in a pattern that I knew I liked to see how it would turn out. Also, this is kind of wearable muslin fodder for my very, very expensive Robert Kaufman cotton flannel. I want to make this in a cotton flannel, and I think I have 2.5 meters of it. I think I have enough for this extra long skirt, and I think it is going to be, something that I end up really liking. And I have a feeling for that one I'm also going to end up putting on the press studs rather than buttonholes on that one, because I kind of think I'm gonna like it. So I'm really pleased that I experimented with this one. Sorry that you're not seeing like this in its full glory in the twirls and the photos, but at the end of this year, fingers crossed, I will have made the leggings. I have a pair of leggings that I could wear this with if I don't end up making any, but I would like to. I would like to get my make 9 complete. So you will be seeing this in all its glory later on in the year, but very pleased with this one. Okay, next up, I actually finished off this bright yellow twill skirt, which is the Vogue 9345. I got really cocky though and fully hemmed it. And the outer hasn't dropped, but the lining has dropped massively on the bias and is now sticking out at the bottom. So I'm not classing this one as technically finished because I need to re-hem it fun times. So it's sitting up here thinking about what it's done, and I will come and re-hem this one, but that's why you haven't seen it today, because yeah, the lining is poking out and I didn't want any comments saying that lining's poking out, you need to even that up. Yes I do. So you'll be seeing that one probably at the end of next month. So the last thing that I'm going to show you today is the Vogue 9345 shirt that I did from the leftovers of the striped chambray that I made the Halston skirt with, and you're seeing it styled together like that in the twirls. I didn't have enough fabric to cut out the facings. I decided to go for like a contrast collar and facing situation. So one side of the tie is white, the other side is the striped fabric. I also ran out of cotton lawn whilst I was doing all of this, because I have used cotton lawn for the lining of the 7974. I've also used it for the lining of the 8577. I'm sorry, I did go for an 8577 out the Anaconda and Thesis. The skirt's done, the bodice is on its way, but I didn't have enough lining to cut the skirt lining out of, so I've ordered 10 meters of that. It's currently in the wash. I didn't want to wait, so I've cut this out of viscose. So we've got a sturdy cotton and a really floppy viscose. I'm not sure I like these two together. Again, I'm going to be really interested because I've only sort of seen it far away in the mirror that I have down here, and we can all see that I have issues with my eyesight. These are definitely prescription glasses. These are not just vanity. I am blind as a bat. So I've seen this from a distance. I think I like it in theory, but I kind of wish that I had waited and got cotton lawn or a sturdier cotton fabric for the collar and revere, but I didn't, and it is what it is. So I've gone for, I don't know again if you're going to be able to see, I've gone for chevrons on the yoke. Then the rest of this, I just had enough fabric to cut this out. So as long as the stripes were straight, I was happy with that, and the stripes are going up and down. The yoke is the only bit that I played around with the direction of the stripes. I think I like this in theory, to the point where if I do buy more striped fabric for, say, a shirt dress, I would buy extra to make a shirt, because I really like this weight of fabric on my top half. I'm just not so sure about it on my bottom half with this skirt. I think it might be slightly too lightweight for my preference. I think this may have been a misstep, but I do like the theory of it, and I like the idea, and I like the contrast. I just maybe should have gone for the same fabric for both parts, but you'll have to let me know what you think. That was the very last thing that I sewed up in May. I am really pleased with everything that I got done. May has been a weird month for me, and as I say, I will be making a video about what's going on and what has been going on and the future of the channel and some changes that are coming up. The sewing studio is definitely my happy place. Making things definitely gives me a boost of serotonin, and it is something that I will do to cheer myself up, and it has been really lovely this last month having a giant pile of projects. I had a huge cutting out session. Having that giant pile of projects to just work my way through and pick and choose what I wanted to make next has been absolutely wonderful. So even with all those things made, I still have 7 projects cut out, and some of them are partially sewn, some of them are completely waiting to be started, some of them are very complicated, some of them are super simple. So I still have a giant pile of things to work my way through. In fact, I think maybe 8 projects. I think I maybe missed one. It was just really, I was really clearly in the mood for a giant cutting out session, and I'm so pleased with everything that did get sewn up and everything that I have coming up. I do have a few other plans for things that I would like to do in June, and if it has gone out already, I will link to the June plans video up here. If that is blank, then I've either run out of cards or that video is coming up next. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of everything that I got made in May, and which is your favourite. I think for me it's the dresses, the gingham dress and the maxi floral dress. I love both of those as they are, and I also love both of those patterns. I have them multiples in my wardrobe already, and I know that I wear them, so they are definitely something that is going to get used and loved over the next few months, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I'd love to hear what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.